After 2 years of waiting, Phineas and Ferb finally came back with a new season. And it sucked. I know that's a pretty harsh way to start a review, but it was just that bad. To me, they took what was once Disney's best cartoon, and turned it into a painfully unfunny and poorly animated mess. To start things off, this new season doesn't take advantage of its cast properly. Way too many episodes lean on Candace, Doof and Perry as the only characters with any energy and relegate most others to a few jokes at best. I know they're the main characters and Phineas and Ferb themselves are the setting, but now all they really do with their inventions are a few jokes, and sometimes the episode song. Not every episode is like this. There were a few that tried to focus on the side characters, but a lot of them struggled to be interesting. Baljit and Irving aren't a fun duo, Monty is still bland, and the Fireside Girls episode was just all around forgettable. At least no one was majorly flanderized, outside of Doof, who at this point is more annoying than funny. I would complain about going back to the status quo and making him evil again, but it's actually an understandable decision, since the season's supposed to be more of the show you knew and loved. The show has always gotten criticism for being formulaic, which this season tries to correct. But instead of playing around with the basic model like the original run did as it went on, the episodes often go on weird tangents that make it feel like these stories are less connected. Candace, for instance, is often off on her own adventure and is thrown into the mix at the last minute so you don't forget her goal is to bust her brothers, and the experimental episodes have for the most part all been duds. Buford's new gag about wanting a bread bowl hot tub was bad on its own, but given a full episode it wasn't any better, and both Candace suit episodes had really bad pacing and drawn-out scenes. The only good episode in this season was Deconstructing Doof, which had a really fun spin on the interconnecting plots. The space adventure episode, while only decent, was definitely better than most of the season as well, especially in terms of comedy. Speaking of humor, that's another major flaw with this season. The series is now script-driven, instead of board-driven, and despite the board artists having the freedom to add jokes, the humor simply feels less spontaneous, trying to emulate what made the original run work without fully getting there. There's some needlessly drawn-out gags in the early episodes, and the fourth wall breaks are a lot less creative, especially in Meet Me in St. Louis, the worst episode in the season, which had a running gag of pointing out each scene they reused from the trailer shown in the credits for Meatless in Seattle back in Season 3, and it just gets worse as the episode goes on. Speaking of things that got worse, let's talk about the art and animation. This is a very polarizing aspect about the season, and in my opinion, the animation is absolutely terrible. The character designs are for the most part in line with the original run's more exaggerated proportions, and the first episodes do look good for the most part, with a surprising upgrade in terms of facial expressions, but as it goes on it looks incredibly stiff and lifeless, something that the original run never looked like, even as the designs were streamlined and the expressions toned down. The line art is also too clean and at times too thick. There's other minor issues with the visuals, like the color palette being too bright at times and the nighttime scenes having inconsistent lighting that feels out of place with the show's style. The studio behind the animation for this season, Snipple Animation, has a poor track record when it comes to handling Dan and Swampy's art style. They handled the final act of Candace Against the Universe, which had fairly inconsistent animation and a lot of issues with character proportions, and they were one of the two studios involved with Hamster and Gretel, which was more on model but had stiffer animation, especially in its earlier episodes. They've done good work in the past like Rick and Morty, DuckTales 2017 and Tiny Toons Looniversity, but this style is clearly not their strong suit, and I don't get why they keep being called back. Apparently, their section in Candace Against the Universe required the least amount of retakes, but as this season went on, there were more and more shots that probably should have been redone. They can't figure out how to animate Phineas in particular. To clarify, these episodes aren't being done with rigs, as confirmed by a former animator for the studio. They're hand-drawn, but animators had the option to use rigs which would then be redrawn frame by frame. From the looks of it, the more expressive visuals seen early on in the season are being discouraged by the studio now, which would explain a lot. Phineas and Ferb was never a particularly expressive show, but the visuals in this season ignore a lot of minor details that made the show appealing. As for other technical aspects, the voice actors all reprise their roles very well, although Jeremy's new voice feels off, and the songs are still really good, particularly No One Understands Me from Deconstructing Doof. To wrap things up, this new season was incredibly disappointing. It felt like a watered-down version of everything good about the show except the songs, and as it went on it felt more disjointed, and the visuals, as I already pointed out in excruciating detail, somehow went downhill. The season finale had a good idea, focusing on Norm, but it suffered from every issue I went over earlier. I hope Season 6 improves upon these issues, but so far, Phineas and Ferb's return has been a train wreck. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.